In doing so, Acting Speaker, I rise, unlike the Leader of the Opposition, I rise to support the appropriation bills of 2023 and to support the measures put forward by the Treasurer contained in the 2023-24 budget. In doing so, I begin by acknowledging and commending and thanking the Treasurer, as well as the Premier and indeed all Cabinet Ministers and their respective teams and departments for the work they've put into delivering this budget. This is a budget that delivers on every commitment we made at the last election to the Victorian people and to the people in my community across Pascoe, Coburg and Brunswick West. Speaker, whilst I am a new member of this place and it is my first budget, I am very proud of the fact that the Andrews Labor government has not wasted a day since being first elected in 2014 on doing the things that matter for the Victorian people and for the people of my community. Whether it was ahead of the 2014 election, 2018 election or the more recent 2022 election, Labor has continued to put forward a positive plan that is all about putting Victorians first. And in that spirit, I am proud to be part of a Labor government whose 23-24 budget has continued in the tradition of doing what we promised for the people of Victoria and the people of my electorate, a budget of real action that supports local employment, schools, transport, health and social justice outcomes. Firstly, when it comes to supporting local jobs and the revitalisation of Central Coburg, Acting Speaker, I commend the role this budget will play in continuing the state's work in this space. Building off the landmark level crossing removal projects along the upfield line through Coburg, the world-class new Coburg and Moreland stations and the $6 million Coburg City Oval redevelopment, we will continue to play a key role in local Coburg revitalisation efforts by some of the following investments contained in the 23-24 state budget, including the $17.8 million this budget has allocated towards building a new science and technology hub at the Coburg High School, the $11.9 million allocated over the 23-24 period towards the construction of the $22.5 million new Coburg Special Development School, and the funding to commence planning for a new mental health and wellbeing local in Coburg, as well as to deliver a new neighbourhood battery in the city of Merribeck. Speaker, I was delighted to have hosted Treasurer Tim Pallas recently on the 31st of March, along with over 100 local businesses and community leaders at the new Pentridge Adina Visitor and Entertainment Precinct for a very positive discussion around these and other record investments the Andrews Labor government has been making to kickstart and drive Central Coburg, Sydney Road and Upfield Corridor revitalisation efforts. I was also very pleased to welcome the Minister for Small Business, who's in the chair today, on a visit to Sydney Road and Central Coburg to meet with local small businesses to talk about opportunities of local revitalisation, including with our multicultural community. And Acting Speaker, at the heart of these efforts about local revitalisation is investment into education and skills for local young people. Speaker, we're building off the $50,000 that was provided for Coburg High School master planning through the 21-22 state budget by delivering a record $17.8 million to deliver a new technology hub for Coburg High School through this budget. This funding will kickstart detailed planning and design work, which will ultimately deliver stage one of the school's master plan by 2026, which will be a game-changing new double-storey technology building, creating space for 250 more local Coburg High students and ensure they're equipped with the skills they need for the future jobs and career pathways that they can aspire to. I was pleased to have recently visited the school with the Premier, the Treasurer, as well as the member for Northcote and Preston to talk about how this investment will benefit the school community for many years to come. In this regard, I commend the outgoing School Council President, Kate Hall, School Principal Brent Horton, School Captains Josh, Tabby, Ezet and Monique, as well as the entire school community for their work and advocacy who have helped secure this investment made possible by the Andrews Labor government's budget. This commitment builds on Labor's previous investments to upgrade and modernise many of our local schools, but particularly our high schools, including $21.1 million for a new technology, science and arts three-storey building at Strathmore Secondary College, which is now opened and students are now benefiting from, and the member for Essendon and I have recently visited to celebrate as well. $14.2 million for new performing arts and technology facilities at Pascoe Girls College, whose construction I look forward to being completed during 2024. And the more recent $14.5 million commitment to undertake major upgrades of John Falconer Secondary College, which I was proud to support, along with the member for Broadmeadows. Speaker, these investments combined with Labor's expanding free TAFE rollout, as well as our education plan for Merribeck North, will help to ensure that all local students are provided with the same chance to aspire, succeed and be supported through local secondary school and higher education options. But it's also at the primary school level that I welcome this budget's investments, including the provision made for $5.1 million towards the delivery of a new gymnasium and learning facilities at Pascoe Primary School as part of the school's overall $15 million major upgrade, which I was happy to have recently visited to meet with School Principal Anne Norton. And at the kinder and early years levels, Acting Speaker, I'm also proud of the investments we're making through this budget to deliver the Best Start and Best Life reforms, which will deliver free kinder for every 3 and 4-year-old across my community. These reforms will save local families $2,500 per year and provide a 15 hours per week program for 4-year-old children and a 5 to 15-hour program for 3-year-old children every week. Amazing stuff. I welcome the fact that these reforms are being accompanied with real upgrades for 11 local kinders across Marybeck through a landmark $10.7 million investment by the Andrews Labor government, which will create a further 329 local kinder places over coming years. In this regard, I was delighted to have recently opened the new $490,000 upgraded St Linus Anglican Kindergarten in Merlinton, one of many other local kinder projects that will be coming online over the coming years, including Turner Street Kinder and Doris Blackburn Kinder, who are also set to benefit in the upgrades through this funding in the near future. And I acknowledge the Minister in the other place, Ingrid Stiff, for her work on this phenomenal program being rolled out. Speaker, this budget continues Labor's investments into road and rail projects so that Victorians can get home sooner and safer. This budget provides for $339 million towards getting the city-shaping Metro Tunnel project ready so it can be connected to the existing rail network as it prepares to open a year ahead of schedule. Metro Rail will provide for significant benefits to commuters in my electorate, and I was delighted to have recently visited the tunnel construction site with many of my colleagues in this place. By taking the 3 busiest rail lines out of the city loop, including the Sunbury, Pakenham and Cranbourne lines, which will run exclusively through the Metro Tunnel, it will allow for other lines to run more services, including those in my community. The Upfield line, for example, will benefit through 71% more peak capacity and room for 45,000 passengers every week during peak periods. And the Craigieburn line will benefit through 27 more peak capacity and room for 54,000 passengers every week during peak periods. Metro Rail builds on the record number of other local investments and rural action Labor has been taking since 2014 to improve local transport infrastructure, including via, as I mentioned earlier, the 4 world-class level crossing projects in Coburg, which have reduced congestion for 52,000 vehicles that utilise Bell Street on a daily basis, as well as those on Moreland Road, Reynard Street and Munro Street. The new landmark Coburg and Moreland stations, which are the catalyst for ongoing Coburg revitalisation. The phenomenal new Upfield active transport, cycling and walking corridor through Coburg, which has also created 2 MCGs worth of new open space and had over 3,000 new trees and shrubs planted. Improving services and introducing low-floor trams across local tram routes 1, 19 and 58. Developing a major bus review for Melbourne's North to plan for a modern, faster, reliable and sustainable bus network across Marybeck. $3.75 million to improve walking and cycling along the Upfield path between the Western Ring Road and O'Hay Street in Coburg. We've also invested $11.9 million to remove, finally, the dangerous intersection and roundabout by installing traffic lights at the corner of Sussex Street and Gaffney Street, just where my electorate office is there on the corner. We've rebuilt the Merlinton Station car park via the construction of 300 new car spaces, along with a new secure bike parketeer, new lighting, CCTV, and complementing this with the missing link. We're completing the missing link of the Upfield bike path along Bain Avenue as part of that project, which has now been delivered and we've now officially had opened. $4.6 million had been also delivered to deliver the Glenroy and Coburg cycling link via Derby Street to improve safety for cyclists, pedestrians and motorists. And other actions also include reducing speed limits along Nicholson Street, improving pedestrian safety at 5 Sydney Road intersections, a new pedestrian crossing at Walhalla and Moreland Road, and $350,000 towards a feasibility study for a new crossing between Gaffney Street and Cumberland Road. Many of these initiatives were funded by the previous Minister, Ben Carroll, as well as my predecessor, Lizzie Blanthorpe, who did amazing work to deliver many of these commitments. I look forward to working on further improving local road safety outcomes over my term, including through the parliamentary inquiry into road safety and vulnerable road users' behaviours following the COVID-19 pandemic, including looking at how we can support transport workers across the gig economy and freight sector, many of whom have diligently been represented by the Transport Workers Union. Speaker, following on from the pandemic, I'm glad to see that this budget continues investing to support our health workers and broader health sector. Along with the introduction of free nursing studies, the Hospital Infrastructure Fund allocates funding towards hospitals across the north that my community depend on. The redevelopment of the Northern Hospital with a new emergency department and inpatient tower to support growing demand for people across the north. Funding is also provided towards the refurbishment and expansion of the Austin Hospital's emergency department and short stay unit. The member for Ivanhoe is in the chamber, I acknowledge, meaning more patients can be treated faster, including from my community of Pascoe Vale. Funding is also provided to kickstart the biggest hospital redevelopment in Australia's history, with significant upgrades to the existing Royal Melbourne Hospital and Royal Women's Hospital in Parkville, together with a new campus of both hospitals in the future suburb of Arden. Locally, I'm delighted to say that funding has been provided so we can begin planning for a new mental health and wellbeing local service in Coburg that, once open, will provide support and treatment for adults aged 26 years and older experiencing mental illness and psychological distress. I was pleased to have recently welcomed the Minister for Health, Mary Ann Thomas, to visit my electorate, including to meet with the Acting CEO of Mary Community Health, Mary Ann Tadich, to discuss these and other local opportunities for my community in terms of health and wellbeing. I'm also very proud of the record investment the budget makes into women's health, with $63 million for 20 new women's health clinics, $50 million for families to access fertility care, and funding to help treat endometriosis and other women's health conditions. Speaker, our sporting clubs play a major role in supporting local health outcomes too. That's why I was so pleased to have seen the budget make the provision of $1.25 million to upgrade Coal Reserve in Pascoe, Vale, which will go towards much-needed whole-of-oval drainage and flood-proofing, as well as oval master planning and funding for women and girls sport activations. I commend the work of these local clubs, including President Alan Chandler and Dean Leeds of the Coburg Districts Football Club and John King of the St Andrews Cricket Club, whose clubs are set to benefit from these upgrades, and I'm looking forward to attending the Coburg Districts President's Luncheon this coming weekend on Saturday to celebrate this wonderful news. Speaker, this budget delivers real action for the environment. The 2023-24 budget kickstarts investment into bringing back the SEC to drive jobs in renewable energy, while also investing to protect Victoria and our local natural environment. An initial $1 billion investment in the SEC will help deliver 4.5 gigawatts of renewable energy power, the equivalent of replacing the capacity of Loy Yang A. We will also invest $12 million to develop new vet qualifications to support the creation of 59,000 future energy jobs, and we'll also fund a business case for a new SEC Centre Training of Excellence, one that I'm particularly interested for my community to be engaged on. I'm delighted by the funding that's also been provided to kickstart the rollout of the container deposit scheme across Melbourne's north, and look forward to working with Tomra, who've been appointed to roll out the scheme locally. And funding that has been provided towards 100 community batteries, including for my community across Marybeck, as well as the $10 million towards a new Protecting Our Waterways Fund, which can help preserve and enhance my local creeks, including the Moonee Ponds Creek, 5 Mile Creek, West Breen Creek, Edgars Creek and the Mary Creek. I was pleased to have recently visited the Reimagining Moonee Ponds Creek project, along with the member for Broadmeadows, where we had the privilege of planting the first trees as part of this landmark project that will renaturalise a 500-metre section of the creek, which will benefit local families and local wildlife. Speaker, this is a budget that also makes provision for social justice measures, including through helping Victorians with the cost of living, whether it's through the $250 power saving bonus, free kinder, free TAFE, motorist and safe driver discounts, the Victorian Casual Sick Pay Guarantee Scheme, or the Get Active Kids Sports Vouchers. The Andrews Labor government is continuing to support local families and households who need it most, with the cost of living through these various measures contained in this budget. I'm also very pleased with the number of investments my local, culturally and linguistically diverse communities and local community organisations have secured through this 23-24 budget, including a new multicultural community facilities fund, which will benefit local Italian, Greek, Lebanese, Turkish and other multicultural groups. $80,000 we've secured, Acting Speaker, for 3ZZZ Radio, Melbourne's ethnic and longest-running community ethnic radio station. $40,000 to upgrade the Alevi Community Centre and $120,000 to support the delivery of the Alevi Festival over coming years. $200,000 for the New Warras festivities and $120,000 for the Peace and Friendship Festival. $50,000 has also been provided for Extended Families Australia to help volunteers support children and young people with a disability. Acting Speaker, as I said from the outset, this is a budget that delivers on the things that we promised prior to the election for my community. It is a budget that is doing what matters for the Victorian people, and is a budget that will continue to underpin this state's jobs and economic growth, whilst building a better future by delivering on our election commitments. And in doing so, I particularly acknowledge the funding we have provided to rebuild a new science and technology hub for Coburg High School, a school that was sold and closed by the Kennett government when I was growing up locally, and now as a local member I'm so proud to be standing here to say we are funding its rebuild and securing its future. I commend the bill to the House.